You know, now that we're a good ways past the launch of Third Edict, I've had time to step back and look at everything zero point 0.3 brought to Path of Exile 2. And with Path of Exile 1's 3.27 leak right around the corner, this feels like a perfect time to take stock of what actually worked in PoE 2's biggest update so far. Because in my opinion, zero point 0.3 didn't just patch the game, it reshaped it. It gave us our first league, new systems, massive quality of life upgrades, and some seriously needed foundations for what this game is becoming. So in this video, I want to go through my personal winners of zero point 0.3 from my experience. The things I think stood out that made PoE 2 better and why they matter. As we look ahead to 0.4 in December, there's going to be no rankings, no fluff. It's just my look back at what made this update so good and why I enjoyed it so much. Let's get into it. Let's start with one of the biggest wins right out of the gate, Act 4 and the 3 mini acts. This was one of the smartest moves Grinding Gear Games made, not just because of the content itself, but because of what it replaced. Gone is the old repetitive cruel mode structure where we had to replay Acts 1 and 3 again just to continue progression. Instead, we got fresh areas, new bosses, and a campaign that actually flowed. Act 4 and those mini acts combined brought in 35 brand new areas, 24 new bosses. That's a huge injection of variety into the game's campaign. And more importantly, it made the story feel continuous. You don't hit that wall anymore where you're forced to repeat what you've already done. Instead, the experience builds. Now, yeah, some players felt Act 4 dragged a little, and I get that. It's definitely on the longer side, but I'd rather have an act that's too long and packed with interesting moments than another loop through familiar zones. God, no. It's a big step forward, making the PoE 2 campaign not just something you get through, but something you actually enjoy playing. If this is the standard, that Acts 5 and 6 are going to be incredible. The art direction, the music, the pacing, all of it showed that Grinding Gear Games really understands how to make each act feel unique. So yeah, this was a massive win if you ask me. One of those fundamental changes that fix a long-standing pain point and remind us how good PoE 2 can feel when it's firing on all cylinders. Now, every W that I'm going to present from my perspective, I'm going to try to give you kind of some of the other side of the argument, you know, the noise, if there was any noise on whatever W that I'm talking about from my perspective. So as far as Acts 4 and the mini acts, there's some noise that came out during 0 0.3, and that was in reference to the campaign, this discussion about campaign skip. And I know there's pros and cons and arguments for both sides. Only thing I want to mention on this video is I'm on team no skip. I personally feel the campaign is a huge part of the leveling experience, and skipping the campaign would dilute that experience, in my opinion. And I get such a rush from going from zero to hero, if that makes any sense. I love that process of building your character and going through that journey. And I just think, again, it would take a lot out of the experience and some of the euphoria that players experience through that leveling process. So personally, I'm team no skip campaign. Next W, the rise of the Abyssal League, PoE 2's first ever league mechanic. And honestly, come on guys, what a debut. When GGG said they were finally introducing leagues into PoE 2, there was pressure, but also a ton of excitement. The community wanted something engaging, something that made playing feel rewarding again. And I think they nailed it. The Abyssal League brought with it 4 new bosses, an evolving Well of Souls crafting system, and for the first time, League encounters that actually felt like part of the world. It wasn't just click shiny thing and spawn a fight. It was integrated naturally into the campaign and endgame, which made exploration feel alive. But the real gem was the Well of Souls system. This wasn't just a side feature, it was a turning point for crafting. Before 0.3, crafting in POE 2 was, let's be honest, let's call a spade here, almost non existent. RNG ruled everything. With 0.3, crafting became more deterministic, rewarding, and honestly, way more hella fun. It added layers of progression where you could plan your crafts, earn them, and see the impact of your effort. That's what makes systems like this stick. And I'll say this, if the abyssal mechanic doesn't stay in the core game, big mistake, GGG, you gotta add it to the core game. I hope at least the Well of Souls system does, because it's too good to lose. This was the kind of league debut that sets the tone for what PoE 2 leagues can become. Rewarding, thematic, and actually adding value to the gameplay loop. Huge win for GGG, and probably my personal favorite of 0.3. Now, again, always trying to see the other side if there's any noise. The only thing that I could really think when it came to the rise of the Abyss League is there was a little bit of noise about the overkill on the mob density, it being too much and too swarmy and too attacking the player, and a lot of players dying. And some of the rare monsters are just their OP scale is on another planet. Like those laser beam guys, super annoying. I think sometimes 2 or 3 spawn and they're lasering you from all different directions. And then probably the most annoying ones, and sorry I don't know their names, but you know, the Pokemons, those guys, the ones that run as fast as Usain Bolt, you know, chasing you and poking you. So I can see why some people were annoyed with the mob density and some of the skills, the OP skills that some of these rares had in the rise of the Abyssal League. So, but other than that, I don't think you're going to find too many people that are going to be like saying this was not a W. The rise of the Abyssal League, the first league in PoE 2, to me was just a huge success. And again, I want to say this again. Please, GGG, add it to the core game. Please. All right. Next up, let's talk about crafting. In 02, crafting was... I wrote crafting was almost a meme. No, it was a meme. Barely functional, completely random, and not something most players wanted to bother with. Like, you're basically... all we were doing was spamming augs and transmutes. Like, that was basically the gist of it. I know there's more, but that was basically the gist of it. Total gamble, casino, RNG. But in 0.3, GGG completely flipped that narrative. The new crafting system that was set in 0.3 just gives us more control and clarity. We got new crafting currencies with more tiers, higher tiers, giving us the opportunity to get the higher tier mods, more deterministic outcomes, more importantly, a proper reason to craft again. Suddenly, crafting wasn't a punishment. It was a pathway, a gateway, and it worked beautifully alongside with the Well of Souls. You could experiment, push your builds, and actually feel like you were progressing. This is the first time, at least in my humble opinion, that Path of Exile 2 where I've seen players genuinely excited to craft. People are making videos, sharing builds, and talking about their crafting successes. This didn't exist as much before. And that's a massive turnaround, if you ask me. It's also set up a strong foundation for the future. If the Delve rumors about 0.4 are true, and if fossils or resonators make their way into the mix in some new form or fashion, we might be looking at the next big evolution of crafting in PoE 2. The bones are finally there. Now it's just about layering on more depth. And I got to say, GGG deserves some credit here for listening, iterating, and giving us the crafting systems we've been asking for since launch. Hallelujah, we're finally here. In my humble opinion, this is an 11 out of 10 change, easily one of the biggest dubs in the Third Edict. And I was trying to figure out kind of what some of the noise would be for crafting, like kind of some of the complaints. I don't have any. Okay, next up, let's talk trade, because this one shocked and surprised the hell out of everyone. This one came out of left field. Nobody saw it coming. And if you're saying that you did see it coming, you're a liar. For years, Grinding Gear Games said asynchronous trade wasn't coming. It was one of those never going to happen things. And they actually did it. Man, I couldn't believe it. This is fantastic. No more AFK spamming, no more chasing players down to make trades, no more getting in there, going to the hideout, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, sorry, that's going to be another 100 chaos or another 100 exalts, upselling and increasing the price. Now we can finally list an item, log off, and still make trades while we sleep and dream about how we're going to beat all the pinnacles in the game. It's modern, smooth, simple. Everything trade should have been years ago, and it's not just convenience. It's a massive quality of life improvement for players who want to play the economy game. And there are a lot in the player base that play the economy game. This system has completely revitalized the trade community. People who avoided trade before are now engaging with it because it's easy and reliable. It's one of those things, it's one of those changes that doesn't just improve gameplay, it changes how the entire player base interacts with the game. Honestly, this might be one of Grinding Gear Games' biggest quality of life wins ever. Okay, so when I was thinking about kind of the noise, like I am for every point that I'm highlighting here, the negative thing that I can think of a trade is I noticed players started getting a little annoyed when some items started getting priced for annuls, and there was a little kicking and screaming, just why are people listing items for annuls? Like, well, what's going on, So that eventually went away as far as I'm concerned. People just got used to it. So it really, just a little blip in the radar there, but nothing massive. Bottom line, trade is a gem in Path of Exile 2. And for my final W in 0.3, sprinting. Yes, you heard me right. Sprinting. It's a W. This one flew under the radar for some people, but once you played with it, you can't go back, in my humble opinion. Sprinting solves one of the most frustrating parts about ARPGs, the downtime between fights. Instead of us using weird checkpoints, which, by the way, Grinding Gear Games, you still don't have enough of them, or clunky travel systems, GGG gave us a natural in-world way to move faster. You hold spacebar, your character dodges, then runs. It's seamless, as long as you don't get hit. And because sprinting knocks you down, if you get hit, it still keeps combat risk intact. This is one of those features that doesn't sound like a big deal on paper, but once it's there, it changes everything. It makes backtracking less painful, exploration faster, and the game just feels smoother, if you ask me. It's a small feature, but it's a perfect example of thoughtful design. It's Grinding Gear Games solving a problem at its root, not just putting a band-aid on it. We have been complaining about large areas, not enough checkpoints, backtracking, dead ends forever. And Grinding Gear Games said, this is a problem. We got to look at it. And again, they addressed the core issue of backtracking, just taking forever, larger maps. Now, there's other things they've done, but sprinting has hella fixed this issue. If you have to backtrack, you just sprint through the area if there are no checkpoints for you to go to where you need to get to. So I think it's a huge, huge dub, and that's why I raised it. Now, some of the noise, some of the other side of the argument on this is some people are still reporting that it's still too clunky. I personally play on PC. I don't play on console. I've heard on console it can get a little clunky. You guys let me know if you're a console player, whether that's a true assessment or not. And some do not like the knockdown penalty. Well, of course, you get knocked down, there's the potential for you to die depending on your character. So, but that's really kind of like the other side of the argument that I could see from some of the players. But I personally think sprinting was a big W in 0.3. So there you have it, everyone. Those are my dubs for 0.3. They're my big winners from my experience. I know there in the Third Edict, sorry. I know there was a lot of other content. I know there was the class balancing, but I don't want to get into the class balancing. That's a whole nother kit and caboodle thing there. And I know we got more gems, and we got the lineage gems, and we got 25 new maps. Endgame, that's coming in December, and we're going to address that a little bit here. 0.3 wasn't just another patch. It was the update, to me, in my humble opinion, that proved Path of Exile 2 is starting to find its rhythm. The campaign feels smoother. Crafting is hella fun. Trade works. And the game is generally more enjoyable to play. I had a blast this season, and hands down, the most I have played POE 2 since the launch. Heck, I just started another character. So I'm really enjoying 0.3. Sure, there's still work to do. Hella yeah, there's still a lot of work to do, especially with the end game. But if 0.3 is kind of like the new standard for GGG, then 0.4 has every chance to be something special. Fingers crossed. I hope they continue this momentum. And with the rumors about Delve returning, new endgame layers being tested, and GGG clearly listening to player feedback, they always have. It's just a matter of whether or not what they execute and add hits with us. You know, it doesn't always hit, but they're always trying. So with that in mind, I'm genuinely optimistic about where POE 2 is heading. Now, I've always been optimistic, but I'm more optimistic because of what happened with 0.3. So as we move forward to the December update, take a second to appreciate how far the game has come since launch. Now, sit back, relax. I know some of you are going to not like that comment. The game has evolved. 0.3 advanced it, in my humble opinion, and made a major step forward towards what I think POE 2 and a lot of us want POE 2 to be. 0.3 was a massive step forward, and I personally think it laid the groundwork and the framework for everything that's coming next. That's my take. Now, I want to hear yours. What were your personal wins from the Third Edict? Did you love the Abyssal League? Was crafting your highlight? Drop your thoughts below. I love to read them. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.